All right, so today I just realized I'm going to have to shut my window because my realtor and my husband are talking about me. Okay. Hi. Hello. So today we're going to be talking about everything I learned about business was wrong. Oh my gosh, what fun, right? Because I'll tell you, let me see where this came from. This came from the fact that I used to run like my business very, very differently from the way that I run it right now. You know what I just realized though? I should really make sure the sound is working. I run my business very differently now from the way that I did before. And when I first started changing the way that I run my business, the way that it happened is I was doing all these things and nothing was working, right? And you've heard me say this before, like you're doing all the things and nothing is working. Like it's not a new refrain that you're hearing from me. But like I was really what's the word I'm looking for? I felt like everything that I had learned, like as I was going through and learning from other coaches and growing and building, I was learning, I was getting more of the learning more that the things that I had learned as I was growing up, the things that I thought were like, this is just the way things are. This is how you run businesses. This is how you do things. They were all false. Hi, Mendy. So good to see you. Hello. So, as I learned these things, I was like, why do I feel like everything that I learned about business was wrong? Like that's literally how I felt. Like, and I say that when I said that when I was younger, I said it like when I was younger, like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So yeah, when I said that, I was like more saying it in a more like petulant, bratty kind of way. Like, I don't know, why does it feel like everything that I learned about business was wrong, right? And the truth is, and that's really where I started to massage some of these ideas about like, if this works, right? Whatever it is, right? If it's supposed to work for everyone, then why isn't it working for me? Why isn't it working for you, right? There has to be a reason other than we suck, right? Which is what I obviously used to first think. I used to think, well, I just suck, right? Because I'm not able to do the things that other people are. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm not seeing the results. So clearly I suck. And that was how I internalized it. It wasn't until I started to really take the time to explore what it meant to run a business in like the social media world that I realized that everything that I learned about business from like the 80s and the 90s made perfect sense in the 80s and the 90s. It went out even into the 2000s. But the second social media became a primary method of finding, attracting, and converting new customers, suddenly everything changed, right? But we were all still operating the way we did before, right? Before the change. I make it sound like menopause, right? Before the change. You know what I just realized also? I just realized that I have not gone to direct success. So what we're going to be doing today is we're recording the podcast live. So this is the podcast live. So we're going to be talking about these things in the podcast format. So the way that this works is I basically go live, I record the podcast, and then when it's done, I'm going to come back for the Q&A. So now we know what we're doing here. I'm going to grab my notes because clearly I have a lot of tabs open with the launch happening today. It's super exciting. So I'm just going to open up my notes, and then we're going to hit the road, get the show on the road with the podcast, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Okay, so then we're going to talk about it. What I really love to know is there's a question going across the screen. I'd love to learn from you. What ideas did you have about business growing up? Where did they come from, right? Where did you get those ideas? All right. So hello, and welcome to the podcast, Stop Shitting All Over Yourself. I am Vanessa Konecki, business overwhelm coach, and I'm here to help you discard all the junk that has built up in your business over the years so that you can start it with a clean slate and feel confident and comfortable about the business that you're running. You can finally breathe a sigh of relief because you know what you're doing with your business and you don't feel like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And that's what this podcast is all about. And today I'm going to share with you something that I think is a fundamental issue with women in business that I think we need to address in order for us to know what the issue is so that we can neutralize it, right? So we can neutralize it. Now, the problem that exists, or that I feel exists out in the world, is how we actually learned about running a business, how we actually learned about what makes somebody successful. What does success look like? What do people say about you when you're successful? What do they say about you when you're not, right? You hear these things as you're growing up. When you're a child, you're sitting at the dinner table, right? You are, you're watching TV shows. You had, your parents were sitting there and talking and being like, oh, Uncle James is doing super well, right? And oftentimes, sometimes they'd be like, oh, he's so lucky, or this, or he's so lucky, or can you believe that happened, right? As if it's like some surprise, right? That he wasn't working hard in his business the whole time. And other times they're like, well, did you hear about Sally down the street? They had to close down the bakery. They just couldn't get enough customers. Man, they lost their life savings, right? So you hear these things at the dinner table and you internalize them. You probably forgot about the baker and forgot about Uncle Jack, but you remember the lessons. They internalize inside, okay? So over the years, I collected a lot of ideas about what it meant to run a successful business. And by over the years, I mean probably around from the 1980s, like early 1980s, we're talking 83, 4-ish, all the way up until the 2000s. Now, the lessons that I learned and that you learned all came before the internet, okay? And they were disseminated to us before the internet. And they were through people's, own experiences. There were movies, there were videos, there were Cosmo articles. Like, how many articles did you read in Cosmo or Shape magazine telling you how you could get the best life or the best business, how you could have it all, how you could... And the thing is we read those when they were our parents' magazines or when they were our older sisters' magazines or our friends' magazines, right? Like, we read those when we were young and impressionable. So the things that we were reading really internalized and they cemented themselves in us as the belief system about this is how business is. Okay, this is just how it is. And we have a lot of things like that we think this is just how it is, but I'm going to be talking specifically about business, okay? Now, here are the lessons that I learned from these kinds of things. I learned how to dress at work so people will take you seriously. I actually remember the Cosmo article about that, and it was about, got to wear high heels, make sure you're wearing makeup. This was shoulder pad time, so you've got to have shoulder pads ironed, no wrinkles, guys, no wrinkles. Make sure you're wearing the right perfume, but not too strong because you don't want to offend people. You want to make sure it's just subtle enough so that when people walk by, when you walk by, they're like, oh, I smell something nice. Okay, so these were very specific instructions that were given to me about how I can be successful as a business owner, how I can be successful in the workplace, how people will take me seriously as a woman. Because as a woman, I'm just starting at a deficit, right? So I obviously have to make sure that I'm taken seriously, right? I also learned that the number of hours that you work proves your dedication to the job, okay? And how do I know? That has stuck with me till now. And I bet you anything it's stuck with you till now too. And I know this because when I was at LuLaRoe and, when there was a problem and sales weren't happening, the thing that you would always hear was, how many hours do you have? You can fit work into this hour here. Listen, give your kids mac and cheese and use that time to work. Now, this happened while I was in direct sales, but this message is not unique to direct sales. This message is all over the place. You see it on Instagram, you see it in other direct sales companies, you see it at work, you see it in, business groups, right? So these business groups on Facebook where a lot of people get together, many people share this same information, which is basically work, work, work. And if you're not working all the time, then you're not truly dedicated to your business, right? And how does that internalize itself? Forget about what other people think. You inside, right? If you're not working, right? How do you feel when you're not working? I really want to know. Because I will bet you anything, you feel guilty when you're not working. And the reason why you feel guilty when you're not working is because when you were younger, the message that was internalized was you are not truly dedicated to your business if you don't find a way to make work fit into every moment. Otherwise, all you're doing is a hobby. So you live in the fear, I lived in the fear of being called a hobbyist. Oh, gasp, that's like the worst thing anybody could have called you, right? As a hobbyist. Honestly, at this stage of my business, I don't care. If you want to call me a hobbyist, go ahead. I know that what I'm doing is more than a hobby to me, right? The key here is that these are things that we internalized as messages and we accept them as true when they are not. So if you accept that if your initial framework is flawed, then everything you build upon it is going to struggle, right? The third thing I lost, oh man, this was the third thing that I learned. Okay, this one's super important for social media because it's separate your work and home life. There is no crying in baseball. There's no crying in business. Don't bring your boyfriend troubles into work. If you're having trouble with the kids, I don't care. You still need to be here at 8 a.m. You still need to be here at 9 a.m. This work isn't going to do itself, right? This is the message. Again, we got this from watching Murphy Brown and watching Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I'll get right on that, Rose, right? We learned that from that movie and from things like that. And we don't realize the kind of impact it has on us as adults because we're sitting here running around thinking everything's fine, right? Oh, I'm fine. At the same time, we're feeling really terrible. We're feeling like we have to work all the time. We're exhausted. And we exist with both those things being true. What I want to do is get rid of that first one, right? Why not just be fine, right? Why not just enjoy your business? And we can do that by challenging some of our underlying beliefs about business, right? So I realized that I was running my business off of an archetype that was invented before people even had computers, right? Before people had, before we were doing mechanical things. The idea of what works on social media, which is ironic, was created in the beginning of the days when social media started, and most of us haven't updated it since then, right? We're running businesses like we're living in the dark ages. Like we're literally running businesses like we were living in the dark ages. And it's time for us to bring our businesses, for you to bring your business into the 21st century. Okay, so now let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a very concrete example because we've been talking about theory. So I'm going to give you a concrete example that'll help sort of illustrate the what we're talking about. So one of the things that I was taught when I first started was that you need to go live as often as you can, and you need to post as often as you can, right? Just the more, the better. More posting, more better, right? So more posting, more better. And the truth is that was true when Facebook was first around, and all the way up until about, say, 7 years ago. That was absolutely true. When Facebook first started, it was more content, more better. So as long as you posted like 50 times a day, you were good. Your business would be fine. Everything would be solid. You're fine, right? The problem is that in 2017, Facebook launched a new type of code, which completely changed how the algorithm worked, right? So it was no longer just volume. It's now no longer just how much you post. Now it's based off of how recently have you communicated with this particular person that I'm thinking of showing the post to. Like, how often do you communicate with people? What are you talking about in your post? How varied are the types of posts that you're making? So they created some very specific checkboxes about what it is that you have to do to make sure that people see you, right? And by the way, if you are watching this live, then on Thursday, the 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern, I am running a webinar, how to generate endless customers. And I'm going to show you exactly what these steps are, so you will know them, right? So you're going to know exactly how to get people's attention if you sign up for this webinar. So go ahead and sign up for the webinar. The link is in the description, right? So let's go back to, so now going back to that. So like now, basically now they have a very, very specific thing that you need to do, right? But a lot of business owners don't know that. You probably don't know that. You may know some of it. You may not know all of it, right? You may know a bit. But what happens is that we keep posting, you keep posting in the old way. Business owners keep posting in the old way. And the reach goes down and down, and you're like, I don't understand what's happening or why, right? So you do a search, right? So you're like, okay, something's happening, something's going wrong. I'm going to take the initiative. I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to see if I can figure out what's happening. So you go to Google and you do the search, and you find an article and you read it, and it's giving you information, but you don't notice that that article was written in 2015, or there's no date on it to tell you that it was written in 2015. So the information that is on that article is correct for 2015. It is inaccurate for 2021. So you look at it and you're like, great, this person knows what they're talking about. And you basically take it and you put it on your you use it, right? But then you struggle even more, and you're like, wait a minute, why isn't this working? I did what that coach told me to. So you go to another coach, and maybe this coach is someone who you asked who has half stuff that works, half stuff that doesn't, and maybe a couple things that will work for her but not for you, right? And so you try those things and you get mixed bags of results, right? And it is very, very problematic. Or you find a coach who's more interested in making money or hasn't kept up with current events, and you just trust that you're getting the correct information, right? And so now we end up in these situations where we continue to perpetuate the myths of our past, all the while thinking that those are the things that are going to help our businesses grow. So after realizing all of this, obviously I was in a horror, like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, because I am not the only one who is in this space. I was in this space 5 years ago, but I'm not in this space now. But over the last 5 years, the world hasn't changed that much. And I'm seeing thousands and thousands of more business women falling prey to this exact same problem every day, right? Every day I hear from someone, or I see someone, or I see a post that basically I can tell where that's coming from. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like, now that you see this, you're going to start to notice it all over the place, right? So here are some things that I want to offer you that you can do right now to help make sure that you're not going to end up with outdated information or stuff that doesn't work, right? So first is, whenever you do a search, right? So anytime you run into a roadblock and you do a search about what to do on your social media, you know, I wonder if I'm still live. Okay, great. I am still live. Okay, great. What to do on social media? Right? Make sure that you check. So like in Google, you can actually check off the box to say, in the tools section, to say, only show me results from the last year. And they will only show you those results. And what that will do is it'll make sure that the information that you're getting is as current as it can possibly be. I don't recommend going, like, it'll let you actually narrow it down to last week or last month. I don't recommend going that narrow unless you know that there's been a really big change, right? So like if Facebook makes an announcement tomorrow and says, we are completely changing blah, then when you go and search the day after, you're going to want to look as recently as 1 week. But really what you're trying to do is just make sure that you're getting relatively current information. So 1 year is really all I do. I only do 1 month or 1 week if I know that whatever it is I'm looking for, I just saw it in the last week, or like something was announced like yesterday that obviously there wouldn't be something from a year in the past. So I need more current information. So number one, make sure that the information that you are using is current and not from, you know, the long distant past. The second thing is find a couple of people that you trust. Okay, and follow them. You can follow me at Manessa.Konecki on Facebook and Instagram. And I promise you will only get the most updated information from me. You can join the Social Strategy Squad and get even more great information. And you'll learn all about how to do that in the webinar tomorrow. But the key thing is do your research on the people that you trust, right? Do your research on the people that you trust. Don't just jump in and do what they tell you to do just because they have the word coach in front of their name. Not even me. Look for testimonials. Look at their other clients. What's going on with them? If you're going to pick a coach, right? You don't need to do this for articles, but if you're going to pick a coach as someone that you follow as your person, do your research about that person and make sure that that's actually the kind of person that you want to have advising you in your business, and not just somebody who happens to have the word Facebook coach in front of their name. Because sometimes you can find people who are very nice, they're wonderful, they have the right information, but maybe they disseminate it in like a scary kind of way. So every time you watch them, you feel like, oh my God, I'm failing, I'm doing something terrible, right? And you're like, I have to go fix everything, right? So even though they have the right information, it may not necessarily help you because you'll be too panicked. Or if you don't do that research, you could find someone that doesn't really know what they're doing, but realized I know more than a lot of other people. So if I just slap on coach in front of my name, people will pay me, right? So you really want to avoid that. So make sure you do your research on the coaches that you follow, and don't follow that many. You really don't need too many. I have a couple of I have an Instagram person that I follow. I have a Facebook person I follow. I follow Mari Smith and Matt Navarra. So I follow those two people for Facebook. And then for live streaming, I follow Mary Kish. So I have just a few people that I follow, and I don't really look at them all the time. I go to them when I have specific issues. So when I'm like, oh, I have this problem, or I'm looking for a specific thing I'm trying to do. Okay. So that is the thing that I want to offer you. Do your research and make sure that do your research about the people, and make sure that the stuff that you're looking for on Google is recent. Okay. Is recent. Now here's your homework. Okay. Your homework is to challenge your frustrations when something doesn't work for you. Yes, you're getting homework on a podcast. Awesome, right? Because honestly, this is going to help you. This is homework to help you, okay? It's so easy when a post doesn't work for us to jump to the conclusion and say that it failed because of you. Like you are inherently flawed and that's why it failed. But that's not always the case. Ask yourself about the activity itself, right? So for example, if you're going live every day and sharing that live into 100 groups and it's not working, ask yourself this question. Is sharing to groups really the most effective way to grow my business at this stage? Or is it a holdover from the social selling dark ages? Okay. Because most of the things that business owners do today are holdovers from the dark ages. Okay. Once you start asking yourself this question, not only are you going to feel so much better, because now you're going to understand what things you can stop doing and what things that you really need to work on, but you'll also get insight as to how to make some of these tactics actually work for you so that you don't have to throw everything out and start from scratch, right? So now instead of it being like, okay, maybe the sharing isn't working, right? But I'm still going to go live. I'm going to use a different tactic to get it into other people's feeds instead of sharing. So it's not like you're scrapping your whole strategy. It's just one thing that you're changing to adapt it and make it a little bit better. Not shooting yourself is a critical part of running a joyful business. And I love, love, love helping business owners get to that space. We are going to carry on this conversation on the Facebook business page at Manessa.com. I would love to hear from you about what your earliest memories are of what business ownership means. And if you want to get a jump start and don't want to wait for this to turn into a podcast or anything, then what I recommend is click on the link in the description. If you are with us live, sign up for the webinar tomorrow. People, sign up for the webinar. It is going to change your life. Get your friends on this webinar. It's free. It is literally free. And I am giving away my blueprint for how to run a successful business. Literally, you can have it. It will tell you exactly how to identify where you're at in the process. It'll tell you what steps you need to take next. I even have a few tools that you can take with you to just get started. So you don't have to pay me to get started on this, but it all starts with that free webinar, and you won't know what to do if you don't sign up. So the link is up above. Feel free to sign up. Okay, so now I want to see what's happening here with the comments. Okay, so now I just want to say, I made that podcast less than 15 minutes. I'm psyched. That's my goal, is to have a 15-minute, like a short podcast. So sweet. Okay, I have missed you guys too. Dude, my brain has a lot of tabs open. Sophia said that she thought my sign said stop. Oh, you know what? I'm still playing around with this. So I'm going to actually share some stuff with you about the postmortem on this so you can see exactly how this all played out, okay? Jenna says, oh my God, my idea of success has changed so much, but I still feel like I should do more different sometimes. Absolutely. And, you really have to challenge yourself in those moments, because what's really happening in those moments is Cosmopolitan magazine and like the voices that you heard at the dinner table, it's those things coming back to haunt you, right? That's the voice that you're actually hearing when you feel like you should be doing something. It's the voice of your childhood saying that you have to remember, make sure you're wearing high heels so that people will take you seriously, right? Because it feels like no matter what we do, right? This is not how it is, but this is how I think we were programmed to believe. Not even programmed to believe. Like, we believed it because of the programming, is that no matter what we do, there's always something else we can do to be better, because we're not good enough. What we know is not good enough, right? So I'll tell you, with the squad, here is what I vowed to myself, and I'm doing better and better at it sort of like every year. I get better and better. I'm not going to say I did it right the first time, but I really do think I'm getting better and better every year. Not just with the squad, but with my business and life. The more I go on, the more I believe that I am enough, and the less I care about other things, right? So when I first started all of this pop art comic-y thing, I wanted to be taken seriously, and I didn't think that anybody would take me seriously if I had this pop art comic-y thing. But you can see that over the years I've really leaned heavily into it, and it's because at this point I don't care anymore, right? Because it's like, I know that the information that I have is going to change your life. It's going to make a huge difference. And if someone's going to judge me based off of like that kind of thing, then they're not my people, right? My people don't judge people like that. My people are non-judgy, right? So if you're going to judge me for this, then right away, you're not my people. And that's an important thing, right? So I'm basically making it so that only people who really want to be around me are going to actually get this. And that may mean that it goes slower. It may mean that initially, but what happens is that once you move into your second or third year, you have such a stable infrastructure that even problems in your business don't really matter as much, because you've got the infrastructure to support it. And that's really important, is making sure that you are really, and as you grow in your business, that you're really that you're comfortable with what you're doing. And I think in order for you to be comfortable with what you're doing, you have to feel like you're enough, right? You got to feel like you are enough. And so Jenna, I'm going to tell you right now, you are enough. Like, what you do isn't like, when I look on the outside, I see all the stuff that you're doing, right? But on your side, you're like, oh my God, I didn't do anything. And it's like, oh my goodness, right? And it's in some cases, like for example, the squad launch, I know one thing that I didn't do right. Like, I know I didn't. And what I didn't do right was I was not visible enough on the marketing side during this launch, because I was still building on the back end. That's unfortunate and it sucks, and it's going to have a consequence, but that's fine, right? Because I'm going to run it again. Because this is a great product, and it doesn't matter, because the more it's there, the more people are going to talk about how amazing it is, the more people are going to buy it. If I don't sell 5 million copies today, I'll sell 5 million copies in April or next August, whatever, right? I know, and I have enough confidence that what I'm doing is enough. And that same thing holds true for you as well, right? When you have enough confidence to feel like I am enough, then you'll be willing to take a lot of these steps and discard some of these antiquated ideas that you brought with you into the 21st century. Oh my God, Jenna, you remember this? See, they were so specific, like down to the shades of makeup you were supposed to wear. And you know what? Here's what was like crazy. And I'm not obviously going to do this because I'm allergic to perfume, right? But here's what they always said. Remember, if you're going to wear perfume, this is how you put it on. Right? They taught you that, because if you put on any more, then now you're just overwhelming people, right? Because now you even do that wrong, right? You put perfume on wrong. Your lipstick, the shade is wrong. You do that wrong too, right? So everything Cosmo was basically prescribing rebuild yourself in this image, right? Rebuild it. And then you will be okay. Then maybe you'll get a guy, maybe. And then maybe you'll have some kids. And then maybe people will take you seriously. But if they don't, I have another article here that'll tell you how to be even better than you are now. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And that is why everything that we learned about business was wrong, because it was all based on that premise. That we are at a deficit, we are deficient just to begin with because we are women, so we have to do all of these things so that we can be taken seriously, so that now we can be like a guy, so we can be like a dude. Now here's the thing, I'm not a guy hater, I'm not like super crazy that way or anything, but it's really important for us to recognize the systems around us so that we can understand how we fit into them. Otherwise, we're trying to run a business. It's sort of like, let's say I take you and I put you into at the bottom of a well. Okay, I put you at the bottom of a well. It's a horrible thing to do, but let's say I put you on a well. Okay, and you don't know that you're at the bottom of a well. Okay, you think you're outside in the world, right? And you are broadcasting and saying all the things and talking about all the stuff in your business, and you think you're doing amazing and wonderful, but not a single person has bought anything from you. And it's because you don't realize you're sitting down a well, right? Someone has to be like, dude, you're in a well. Come outside, right? Someone had to show me that. I had no idea I was sitting in a well. I was doing all these things and I could not figure out why people weren't coming. Why wasn't I? And what's interesting is that we were still succeeding, but I could tell that something was not going right. Like I was like, look, within 2 years, we're going to be in trouble, right? And I could tell that. So I knew that we had to fix the problem then. And that's where all this came from. Okay. Working in mostly male-dominated jobs most of my life, I had a lot of shoulds that I thought, absolutely. When I was a bouncer, it was even more like when you're in a male-dominated industry, it takes it to that next level, right? Because you've got to put on. Because like I'm a bouncer and I'm throwing out 600-pound guys in a nightclub. I have to, right? I have to really bring it. And that's not who I am, right? So that's an enormous amount of energy to bring to bear to put on this person, right? So basically you put on a person before you go to work, right? You're like, okay, hi, here I am. It's not you, it's the person that you put on, right? And that's a lot of weight to carry, right? Dude, you are totally. Hello, Tiffany Boozer. So good to see you. Hey. And Patricia, you made it. And Marlene. Oh, Marlene, I love your affirmations. I think it's amazing. Okay. So I got to tell you, I'm wicked excited. This podcast was killer, podcast recording. We are not going to be putting these into podcast format probably until we have 4 or 5 in the can. And then Laura's just going to take them, push all of them out. If you ever want to start a podcast, I recommend doing that. Okay. So I'm going to first pause and just tell you really quick about the webinar, because the webinar is wicked important. If you have not signed up for the webinar, you want to sign up for the webinar. I know we have a lot of squad members on the live right now, so what the heck was I even going to say? All right, we have a lot of squad members on the live right now, so I want you to know that you will have to unsubscribe and cancel your current squad subscription in Podia, and then use the link that we're going to share with you in the squad, and you're going to get an email about it in like an hour. Use that link to sign up again. Okay. You will not be thrown out of the squad or anything. You'll be able to stay in while you're doing the transition. Okay. But this is a different squad. We're doing everything squad 2.0. Okay. It's on a whole new system, a whole new place. But tomorrow is a webinar. The webinar is totally free. And the webinar, what I'm going to show you is the 5 steps necessary to run a successful business. That's it. You only need these 5. If you have these 5 things in place, then you will have a successful business. You won't have to worry. And you're going to be shocked when you see them, right? Because when I was building the squad the first time, right, everybody was telling me all these things you needed to be successful, right? So, and you guys all who were in the squad, you saw this. You saw as this happened. And in the last year during COVID, I was like, you know what? I don't want to do all this stuff. I just don't. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I want to enjoy my life. This is not why I did a business, right? So I went down the list and I was like, you know what? You don't need this. You don't need this. And so I started running my business just discarding over the last 2 years, just discarding certain things. And it's amazing. When you really break it down to the bare bones, you need 5 things. So tomorrow I'm going to share exactly what those 5 things are, like exactly. And then at the end of the webinar, for staying on till the end, you're going to get the blueprint for putting it together, putting it in place on your own if you want to. So if you choose to, at the end of the webinar, you can be like, great, thanks for this information. Thanks for the blueprint. I'm out. And you can just run with it if you want. But if you want to run with it in the social strategy squad with me, then you'll have the opportunity to sign up. Now, for squad members and members of my list only, you have the opportunity to purchase the squad today. You'll get the email for it for $29.99. You'll have to cancel your current squad membership and sign up under Searchy, but you have the option to get it for $29.99. Tomorrow at noon, the price goes up to $39.99 for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're a squad member on my list. So please, if you have friends in the squad, if you have people who you know are in the squad or who you know left and wanted to come back or who would be interested in being like, oh, what's she doing now? Make sure that you send them this link. I am opening this offer to former squad members, to everyone on my list and everyone in the squad currently. If you are not in the squad, if you're not in the squad currently or you're not on my list, you can sign up for my list like right now by clicking on the blue link up above, right? Tomorrow, you're going to get the full rundown of everything that you get in the squad. And I guarantee whether you were in the squad before or not, it's going to blow your mind because it is the simplest, clearest, easiest, funnest, most effective way that I can imagine to grow your business ever. And because when I was making it, that was my goal. I was like, I want it to be short, sweet, fun, simple, easy. That's what I want. I don't want any of this. It's too long. There's too much stuff. You have to spend 4 hours watching my live. it was taking up too much time. You guys, time is the most valuable thing in the world, and I was sucking up all of it. And so for me, I'm like, my goal is to make sure you get what you need ASAP, right? So that's what you're going to learn tomorrow in the webinar, okay? Don't worry, Deb. Don't worry, Deb. You can watch the replay. There will be a replay available, okay? There will be a replay. Alrighty, so before we wrap up, I want to give you guys a little insight into what it takes to actually create a podcast or a business, right? So when I did this last week, I had a rudimentary cover photo. So after last week, I went through my video, I watched it, and then I made a list of the things that I didn't like from last week that I wanted to improve for this week, okay? So last week, you watch, you see what you didn't like, and you improve for this week. This is how you want to run your lives. You do not want to run a live where you do a live and then you're like, I'm done and I walk away. I do a live and then I'm done and I walk away. If you do that, then all your lives are going to be exactly the same and you're going to have the exact same visitors. You're not going to see any growth. You have to do a postmortem. So what I learned from last week's episode was, one, I didn't like the overlay. If I'm going to have an overlay, I wanted it to have a purpose, and I didn't think it had any purpose other than to look cute. So I wanted you to giggle. I wanted you to know what we're talking about. I wanted you to know what's happening. I also wanted you to be able to like talk or say something. It is a $29.99 membership. So you will be charged $29.99 monthly, and then you can cancel it at any time. You can cancel anytime. And you know what? There's actually an annual one, which will be $2.99 for the full year. I just realized that I have the one for $39.99, but I need to make it for the one for $29.99. So you can buy a full year of $29.99, and you will be locked into that price. So once you have signed up for $29.99, you'll be locked into that price in this system. Okay? Alrighty. Okay, so I didn't like, and feel free, keep asking questions. I'm here while I'm sharing this. Okay. So I made a new one. I tried a moving ticker. I don't know that I like the moving ticker. Already, I think that the ticker is distracting, and that I think I need something on it that says this is a podcast being recorded live so that it's clear like what it is. I don't like the logo. I made a second logo. I don't like this logo either. It needs work, but I don't have time to mess with it. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll just throw it up there because my logo doesn't matter, right? I mean, it matters to me because I want it to be pretty. But truthfully, you're not going to buy more from me or think I know more about what I'm talking about just because of my logo. That is another thing that we learned, right? We learned, oh, your brand is important, because many people, when they first start their business, what's the first thing they do? They put together their brand and their colors and their fonts. Fun fact, that's the least important thing about your business. If that's the first thing you're doing, then that is not a good use of your time. You want to spend your first hours, like I'm a business owner, doing work that's actually going to make you money, not work that makes you feel fun, because it's the fun thing to do, right? And that's one of the biggest things. Almost everybody does that, right? I even do that now. I'm like, oh, I have to do something. I'll make a graphic, right? The quality of the stream was disappointing. Last week, I was frustrated by how little I knew about connecting Streamlabs to Facebook on the back end. So I spent about 15 minutes on YouTube. I learned how to connect it with the Streamlabs. I figured out what the problem was with the setting. The problem was that my camera is very good and my computer is very good. So it was bringing it in at a high resolution, 4K, and trying to broadcast at 4K. Most people are at 720. It doesn't need to be that big. So I brought it down a notch and now it should be fine, right? I got some advice about how to maximize the stream. And one of them was to use the desktop to stream. So I'm like, okay, when I move, I'll bring the desktop and stream from my desktop. And then the other thing I learned that I didn't get around to was I made events. I need to make events. So I'm going to do that next week. Okay. So those are the things that I didn't like about last week's podcast, in terms of what I did that I thought I could do better. So this week I've improved almost all of them. So between now and next week's podcast, I'm basically going to make the same list and be like, okay, what can I improve between now and next week? And as you watch the podcast progress, you will see this progression, right? You're going to start to see how these things happen. That is how things grow and improve. You don't wait until it's perfect to do it, because if you do that, you're never going to start and you're never going to make money. You've got to do it first, do it messy, take messy action, correct the messy action, take more messy action, and then just keep doing it until finally it's cleaned up. Okay. Alrighty. Now, Marlene, there's going to be a video that I'm going to post right now that's going to show you how to cancel your squad subscription in Podia. It is 2 steps. It's really simple. So I will show you an exact video that's going to show you how to do it. So absolutely. And then if you still need help after that, we are totally happy to help. But I think the video will help you. Alrighty. Okay. So, and I think, by the way, you're going to find that the new system is much, much more user-friendly. So one of the things that happened with the last system was that I've gotten a lot of feedback, right? And I use that feedback to find this new system. This new system is more video-based because I am video-based, and it transcribes everything. So it's going to make it a lot easier. I think it is a much smoother and easier process. You're only going to be in the one hub, so it's not going to be like there's 8,000 things for you to look at. I feel like it's a more user-friendly system, but here's something even better, okay? So this is going to absolutely blow your mind. For me, the most important thing was setting up a good onboarding system because I've always sucked at that. It's just never been something I've been good at, but I wanted to get good at it. I am going to literally, or my virtual self, is going to walk you through every step when you first come to the squad. Seriously, I am so excited. Everyone who's gone through this onboarding, and those of you who are in the Hustle Proof Your Life, you've seen it. It's killer. It makes everything so much easier. So I cannot wait to share that with you. That is going on sale probably in the next half hour, right? We have a couple things happening within the next half hour. And then we're just going to, woof, bam, it's on sale. And then we are in launch mode. Okay, so the squad is on sale from now until Monday at 8 p.m. The $29.99 price is only available until tomorrow. After that, it's going to be from noon onward, it's $39.99. So if you are a squad member and you want to stay a squad member, you're going to want to sign up when you get the email today or when we make the post in the squad. Like, there's going to be a lot. So when we do that stuff, right? Or when you get the text, because there's going to be a text. Otherwise, it's going to be $39.99. Just the system cannot accommodate it otherwise, right? So at this point, I don't have any coupon options. So really, that's all there is. One day for $29.99, and then the rest of it's $39.99. Okay. All right. So you are welcome to sign up. Feel free to message me if you have any questions. Actually, feel free to post a question on the wall because I know other people have those questions as well. So let's get that there. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This was a fabulous podcast recording. I cannot wait until the next podcast recording when I get to implement the next set of tactics. And what I would really love more than anything, is if you take the lesson from this that there is oh my goodness. What was it? I totally lost my train of thought. Oh my God, don't you hate that? Brain fog. Oh yeah, okay. If from this you took the lesson that I've done something and now I want to go improve upon it and then do it again and improve upon it and do it again, I want to hear about it, right? Iterative improvement is such a change in our perspective that any one of you who does it, I want to hear about it because we need to highlight it. Because I can tell you right now, you start doing it that way, you're going to start seeing more sales in your business than you've ever seen before, and you will wonder why you waited so long to take messy action. The reason why so many people do not succeed is because one, they don't take action, or two, they don't take iterative growth action. They just take the same action over and over again. So if you're going to iterate and make different changes as you go and do this kind of post-mortem, I want to hear about it because you are going to be the one who's going to make more money than anyone else before anybody else. And I want to highlight you. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Oh yeah, tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. for the webinar.